G5Jefftv. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the share button as you come on in. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at BoxingFirst We are bringing you another episode of G5Jefftv. And Shane, basically, it's no boxing right now because of the whole coronavirus thing. And what we're doing on this channel is we bringing y'all different content outside of just regular boxing videos. What we're doing is just bringing up certain topics and we just sitting down and we talking about it. This is basically conversations that we have behind the scenes that we're bringing to the cameras. So we got Shane on the line with us right now. Shane, what's going on, bro?
Everything's all good.
All right. Listen, our topic for today is the top 10 fights that you want to see right now. Current fighters, no past stuff. Current fighters, your top 10 wish list in terms of fights that you want to see. Now, at the end of this video, we want for you guys to post your top 10 fights that you want to see. There's no rules for it. For Shane and myself, what we decided to do was not use the same person twice. Outside of that, everything was pretty much a go. And what we're going to do right now is we're going to break down our top 10 from number 10 to number 1. So, Shane, definitely appreciate you having you on again, bro. Let's start with number 10. Give us your number 10 and who you think will win the fight.
Okay, obviously, as it's number 10, it's going to be my least wanted fight, and obviously, it's going to progress going forward. But in terms of my number 10, it's pretty much it's not going to be on anybody's top 10, but I have my reasons for why I want to see the fight. My 10th fight I want to see is Broner versus Amir Khan. Mainly because I feel like the build up between both fighters will be dope. I feel like both of them are entertaining guys outside of the ring. I feel like they're at similar stages in their career. They're at similar stages. They kind of it's like a crossroads fight for both of them, and I feel like both of those guys have been in like situations like this before. And I just feel like when you put two guys in and their backs against the wall and they have no choice but to win, you tend to see an unexpected result, regardless of whether it's a good fight or a bad fight. It's a fight where you don't know what you're gonna end up seeing. So because of that and because of the build up, I'm a fan of good build ups as well. So I just wanted to see how that would go.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely that you might be the only person that had that on a top 10 list. But that's why it's a top 10 list, is your own customized list.
It'll
That's
get better as we go along. It'll get better as we go along. But that,
right.
as I said, I'm a fan of what's it called? Of build up. So if
Yeah,
a
yeah.
fight's got a good build up, I want to see it, innit?
Yeah. As far as that fight is concerned, you made a good point. When two guys' back is against the wall, you get an unexpected result, like possibly an action fight. But the thing I will rebut with that is, in the mind of Amir Khan and Adrian Broner, I don't think there's a scenario where they would ever think their back is against the wall.
That's true, but this is the difference. I feel like Amir Khan is at a stage where he's lost so many times. Taking another L isn't an issue. But if you look at all the guys he's lost to, he's not lost to anybody that you would. I mean, he's lost to Terence Crawford, pound for pound, in my opinion, number one. He's lost to Lamont Peterson. At the time, he was a very good fighter. He lost to Canelo, arguably pound for pound number one in other people's books. I mean, there's so many things you look at Amir Khan and you think, well, he's lost to these guys, but he's lost to really good fighters. I feel like if he loses to AB, there is no excuse. And I feel like it's the same for AB. Him losing to Amir Khan, there is no excuse for losing to Amir Khan. There is no coming back from that. And I feel like a lot of these guys fight with pride, and if you look at the fights that AB's been in, he's never really had he's always this braggadocious character, but he's never really had someone who's gonna bite back. You know, when he fought Mikey, Mikey's a laid back character, so he's not biting back in the press conferences. When he fought Maidana, you don't even speak English. So that's another situation. Pacquiao, you know, Pacquiao's a very sophisticated person in press conferences, so he's not gonna bite back. Whereas I feel like you have nowhere to run. If you lose to this guy, you're gonna be trash talk for the rest of your life. And I feel like neither guy can be put in a. When I mean back against the wall, I mean pride. I don't mean like their career wise. I just mean pride.
Right. No, that's a pretty good point. That's a pretty good point. I like Amir Khan in that fight, especially if he has Virgil Hunter in his corner for that fight. I thought he fought his best when he had Virgil Hunter in the corner. Like, he was just more disciplined, even though it was still times when it was chin glass all over the place while Virgil Hunter was there. But overall, I felt like he was more disciplined with Virgil Hunter in his corner. Until Adrian Broner lets his hands go in a fight, I'm always gonna pick against him. And I'm an AB fan. I'm an AB fan at the end of the day. But I would take Amir Khan in that one.
That's how every AB fight is. Every AB fight is founded on what AB does and not his opponent.
Yeah, when he lets his hands go, he's one of my favorite fighters to watch because his punch variety is crazy. It's just he don't ever shoot. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he don't ever shoot, but yeah, that was an interesting number 10. Mine is gonna be just as interesting because it ain't got nothing to do with male fighters at all. I have Clarissa Shields versus Layla Ali as my number 10. I'm gonna tell you why. There's a lot of buildup between these two, and it's not recent buildup. Like, they've been going back and forth for a while, and there's a question of whether Layla Ali has a problem with passing the torch to Clarissa Shields. I don't think she has a problem passing the torch because I think
Layla Ali retired.
Say it again.
Isn't Layla Ali retired?
Yes, she's been retired for a very long time. So she hasn't had the torch. You know what I'm saying? Clarissa Shields has had the torch for a while. And I think the back and forth between Layla Ali and Clarissa Shields has been basically, I think, even though Layla Ali is in her early 40s, she's an Ali, so she has that competitive spirit. But I do think it's more competition now than it was back when Layla was fighting. But Layla Ali did put women's boxing on the map. Clarissa Shields has just continued to carry the torch. But I think that's a fascinating fight. The build up would be crazy, the hype would be crazy, the buzz would be crazy, and to see all these different types of boxing fans come together for that one event would be crazy. So my number 10 is similar to yours in terms of why you want to see it.
Okay. My number 9 now is a bit more. It's, in fact, not even a bit more. This fight's for the hardcores. My number 9 will be Josh Warrington versus Gary Russell Jr. I feel like when you're looking at Josh Warrington and Gary Russell, I feel like one, you're looking at arguably, I know some would argue Shakur, but just going off resumes, arguably two of the best fighters at 126. They're two champions, long reigning champions at that, and their styles will gel tremendously. Gary Russell, quick hands, very, very good punch selection, good power. Josh Warrington, very good engine, very good. He's very active in the ring, got good movement, and he's very what's the word? He's got very good ring craft, which I feel is very underrated for Josh Warrington. So I feel like that fight would be dope. Plus, I feel like the build-up would be dope because Gary Russell,
that'd be a nice build-up. Where would you want that fight to be?
Oh, there's only one place that fight can be. I mean, and when we're talking about little men, we're talking, from maybe 130 down. I don't think there's anybody who sells as much tickets as Josh Warrington, because if you go to his hometown, he's selling out 50,000 easily, 30,000 easily. And in his hometown, they got die-hard fans, like the same
Yeah.
Fury fans you saw that traveled. Josh Warrington fans are die-hard. And the trash talk from Gary Russell that will just rile the fans up a bit more. So I think that would
Yeah.
be entertaining. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, that'd be a great fight. Who you like in that fight?
I'm drawn towards um Gary Russell purely and simply because I feel like he is the better fighter and I feel like he is the better boxer. But one of the things that I'm worried about for Gary Russell is he's not very active. He hasn't fought at the highest level for a long time. He hasn't fought an opponent as active as Josh Warrington. Josh Warrington, I say this all the time to people. If there's any fighter who's aware of their limitations, it's Josh Warrington. When
Josh
he
Warrington.
fights, he knows what he can and can't do. So you'll never see him in a ring going there doing a Philly shell or going there running around the ring or doing what Sean
Yeah, he
Porter done
stick to what he
against
knows.
Whiplash. He just sticks to what he knows. And because of that, he don't mind if someone's looking better than him boxing. He'll just make it a different type of fight. He'll dog it out
Right.
and that's what I like about Warrington. But I would lean towards Gary Russell. I wouldn't be surprised if Warrington won though.
Yeah. That's a that's about as close to a 50-50 fight as you gonna get as
All
far as
my
like
fights
two
are
champions.
50-50 from up this point. All my fights are 50-50.
Say it again, bro.
I said all my fights from this point onwards are 50-50.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that fight. I would slightly lean towards Gary Russell. Cause
I
his
would,
last
but
fight,
just sorry to cut you off though. I do feel like you do have to consider Gary Russell would have to win what's the word? Convincingly if it's going to be in Leeds because we know how the judges are, but
yeah. I think I like what I seen in Gary Russell's last fight in terms of activity. Um, he was really active and he moved around the ring, but he was very he wasn't like really out of the pocket. Like he was moving around, but he was still within striking distance as he was moving around. So I really like what I seen from him in his last fight. I would slightly lean towards Gary Russell. Um, but that's a I wouldn't even say 55-45. I would say like a 52-48%. That's how tight that fight is. But that's a really, really good fight.
and it's a
Um,
possible fight as well. Eddie Hearn said he does want to make that fight.
Yeah, he had actually Eddie Hearn had Josh Warrington on Instagram, and they actually talked about that, and I never dropped it. Maybe I'll drop it today. With Josh Warrington was talking about that, so that'll be a good video to drop. So I'll drop that later on today. I knew you were gonna say Gary Russell and Josh Warrington, so I did edit my list just a tad, so people won't accuse me of biting off your list. So, I threw Jamal Charlo Triple G at number 9. Um, Jamal Charlo, I still want to see him up against an elite fighter. Yes, he fought Julian J. Rock Williams. Um, but I don't think Julian J. Rock Williams was elite at that time. He was
I
really
don't
in
think
high
he's elite
prospect
now.
stage.
I don't think he's an elite now. That's
Yeah,
just my
and
opinion.
you can make yeah. I don't think he's elite neither. I just think he had an elite night against
Jared Hurd.
yeah, against Jared Swift Hurd. Um, he has above level talent. I just think he's had too many slip ups in his career right now to say that he's elite. So I won't say that. Jamal Charlo, you can literally make the claim he hasn't fought anyone even close to elite. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the reasons why I would love to see the fight with Triple G. And Triple G, I would just love to see him fight somebody that, similar in size and somebody that's going to put some hands on him.
I mean,
Now, I know
I knew you were going to.
Derevianchenko
I was
said
just
again.
about to say that. I was just about to bring up Derevianchenko, but
Yeah,
continue.
Derevianchenko definitely put some hands on him. But there's an intrigue with me in terms of if somebody the size of Charlo was putting hands on Triple G like Derevianchenko was, are we looking at a knockdown? Are we looking at a stoppage? Are we looking
Are
at
we
something
saying that? Are we
more
saying that
dramatic?
Charlo is a heavier hitter than Derevyanchenko. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
You think so?
Oh yeah, Charlo over Derevi in terms of punching power.
I feel like what people misled with the Derevyanchenko was where he was punching. He was punching solely to the body. That's when he hurt Golovkin. It was
Yeah.
only body shots, and he was putting them together. Charlo's single power. I mean, I ain't seen him ripping them to the body with 3, 4 body punch combinations. I ain't seen it. Maybe you have.
Um, I have seen it, but not consistently. As far as Derevianchenko is concerned, he's the shorter fighter, so it'll be easier for him to get to the inside, shorter arms. And Derevianchenko's tough. He's really tough. I do not think Derevianchenko has more punching power than Jamal Charlo. I will say that for a fact. But I actually, to be honest with you, I still would favor Triple G in that fight. It's one thing for you to, dominate the guys that you in against, but when you step up to the next level, and we all know Triple G has different type of power. It's easy to, say you're gonna do this and do that against a guy like Triple G until you actually get in the ring with him. Like even I think Canelo might have the best chin in the sport. You know what I'm saying? I think he has the best chin in the sport.
Pound for pound.
I can count less than 5 times he's actually been hurt inside of the ring. He's been in with damn near everybody. Even he respects Triple G to a certain extent because
I
of the
mean,
power.
I mean,
So
when you look at Andrade, not Andrade, Charlo, I'm gonna use your saying, and this is why I would agree with you, is because I look at that fight and I go, who's gonna make the other person fight the fight that they don't want to fight? I personally don't feel like if Charlo was to come in through the front door and try back Golovkin up, he's gonna walk through a hell of a lot of fire, and I've never seen him do that before. At least with Derevyanchenko, he's used to walking through fire. I've never seen that from Charlo. So maybe he can prove me wrong. And if he does,
yeah,
kudos to him. But I've never seen it.
yeah, that's a great point. Like for Charlo to win that fight, he would have to show a whole lot of things that he hasn't shown against an elite fighter. But I think that's a great fight. But what's your number 8, bro?
My number 8 is Devin Haney versus Teofimo Lopez. Literally, I don't need to explain it other than the fact that to me they're the two best prospects at the sport. I feel like they're the two best prospects in the sport right now. I feel like Devin Haney and Teofimo Lopez both are the two fighters just under Lomachenko in terms of like ability, and I feel like in terms of potential, I feel like they both have the potential to supersede Lomachenko. I look at them and I feel like the styles are perfect for a brilliant fight, and everybody knows when you put two prospects in with each other who's emotionally invested, you always get the best fights in terms of entertainment. So I
Right.
don't feel that needs much explaining. In terms of who I feel would win, Devin Haney, I just feel he would win strictly off the fact that I feel like he's a better defensive fighter. I think Teofimo with his single shot punch power, you're fighting someone who's got very good defense. So okay, you can throw your shots, but what happens when he throws shots against you? And I feel
Right.
like that one when you're fighting another prospect and you're both coming in with a certain style, the person who's able to adjust better is the person who's able to win. And I just feel like Devin Haney's shown me more dimensions than Teofimo.
Okay. Um, the listeners is probably mad at you because you calling them prospects still,
I mean,
but
prospects in the sense that they're young. I mean,
they're young.
both of
Yeah.
them have been world champions. So
So
in fact, let's not call them more prospects. Just
yeah, I
call
was
them
getting ready to
young
say
talent.
I knew what you meant by that, but for the listeners out there, like Shane don't think they're actual prospects. He means like they're young in age, like they're evolved. They're just
Okay,
emerging,
they're
basically.
not at their pinnacle. That's what
They're
I
not
mean.
at their peak. They're not even in their prime yet.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, they're not even in their prime yet. But that's a great fight. Um, I like Devin Haney as well. If Tiafimo was to win that fight, he would have to turn that into a straight dog fight. He would have to make Devin Haney not box. He had to turn it into a street fight. I know a lot of people would disagree with that, but Devin Haney, terms of just pure boxing, he even though he hasn't hit his prime yet, he's one of the best as far as his pure boxing is concerned. Tiafimo, I have to turn it into a different type of a fight in order to win, but I like Devin Haney in that fight. Actually, I would say probably Devin Haney probably. I would say 55-45.
Oh
55
crap! You
45.
know that wasn't even my number eight, but it's fine. That wasn't even my number eight.
That
That
wasn't
was
your number eight.
that was my number seven. My number eight
Okay,
was
well we'll flip flop. But my number matter of fact, you know what? Since that was your number seven, I'll give you my number seven. My number seven was Canelo versus Demetrius Andrade for obvious reasons. Demetrius Andrade, I feel like he deserves the shot. I would love to see him against a premium guy in the sport. I think he deserves it. He's had a rough past in terms of business wise. He was supposed to fight Jamel Charlo. He should be able to fight Jamal Charlo right now. Triple G. There's just so many opportunities. He's supposed to fight Billy Joe Saunders. There's so many opportunities that has been in front of him, and he hasn't been able to cash in
not because of
on
him.
getting
Neither.
the opportunities.
Neither of them have been because of him.
Say it again.
I said none of them have been because of him.
Yeah, yeah. It's just a lot of red tape, a lot of red tape, a lot of politics, a lot of different things going on. But Andrade inside of the ring is a handful to deal with. He's a southpaw. He got speed. He got power. Really good defense. Like it is not many holes in that young man's game. And Canelo is the type of guy. This is how I know Canelo is one of the best in the sport. Canelo might be the only guy in boxing that everybody literally throws up against every single name in multiple divisions. And we don't care if he's convenienced or not. We just like, yo, we just want to see him fight him.
Yeah,
Like, he really takes I know he signed under Golden Boy, but he reminds me so much of Oscar in terms of being willing to go in the ring with any and everybody as long as it makes sense. Because I think Oscar De La Hoya has one of the top 5 resumes of all time in terms of people he has actually fought. Um, and Canelo is working towards that. I think it's a great fight. To be honest with you, I think that I actually think Canelo will pull off a close decision in that fight
I,
against Andrade. I think
I
Andrade
agree.
would make a mistake at some point during that fight, and Canelo will cash in on it. Really tight decision for Canelo Alvarez. What you think, bro?
I feel like, and I've said this before, in boxing, the hardest person to fight, this is in any division, the hardest person to fight and beat conclusively is Demetrius Andrade. Now, I think Canelo would win, but I don't think he would win conclusively. Andrade to me, and this is in my list, so I might as well address it. This was number five, so I don't have to address my number five again. So you just make it faster. But this was my number five. But the reason why I just feel like Andrade, he's one of the hardest fighters to fight because for one, his arms are so dangly. So literally, he keeps you at the end of that right hand. But also, he does what no fighter does, and it's going to be difficult for Canelo to exploit. Canelo loves to go to the body. Andrade loves to sit down on his left foot. I don't know if you know what I mean by that, but he has a very long stance and he sits down on his left foot. So what that means is he tends to elevate up and down levels, and he's always changing his height. So that means the furthest part for you to hit him is his actual body. And because he's sitting down, it's very difficult to hit his punch clean. It's very difficult for me to explain without actually visually showing you. But if you watch Andrade, a lot of the time he's changing his height, and sometimes he's standing up, but his body is horizontal. It's like he's completely bent over, and he's one of the hardest fighters to figure out. So I feel like if Canelo beats him convincingly, he's definitely a real one. But I feel like Canelo would win, but not convincingly. I just feel like it's impossible to
Yeah.
beat Canelo on points, and I feel like Andrade would, in many people's eyes, win but still lose.
Okay. Number 7 on your list, but you know which one you know which one you get ready to read off.
My number eight, but my number seven, whatever it is, that's Smith versus Benavidez. I actually feel like this fight is only. I really like this fight only because of the styles. I really don't really feel like these two are fantastic fighters. I don't think neither of them are elite fighters, but I feel like the styles would gel to be a fantastic fight because I feel like Benavidez and Smith both very big for the weight class, both very tall, both very strong, and I feel like they fight like macho men. They throw the boxing skills out the window when they're willing to get in the trenches and war it out. I feel like Smith has probably the advantages in terms of I'd you probably bat my head for saying this, but in terms of single punch power, I'll probably give the advantage to Smith. But then in terms of punch variety and actual uh, um ability to use range, I'd probably give it to Benavidez. I feel like he can fight at better ranges than Smith, and I also feel like he probably has a bit of punch. In fact, I think they both got very good punch resistance, but neither of them got great defense, so it's a good fight.
Who you like?
I'd probably give it to. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. If I have to pick, if I'm forced to pick, I'll probably pick um Smith only because I feel like he probably could dog it out. But saying that, Benavidez is a tough guy, man. I don't know. Could make an argument for both guys, but I'll probably go Smith solely because I feel like if it goes to points, which I can't see neither of them knocking the other one out, I feel like if it goes to points, they're gonna probably give it to the person who has the cleaner work, and a lot of Smith's work, especially at long range, is actually really good and it's unnoticed. Whereas Benavidez, he wants to get on the inside to get those punches off. And I feel like when he's on the inside, Smith does a good job of smothering people's work, and then he will smother your work, step out, and then land a lot of good, clean, long punches. So just because of the cleaner shots, I feel I'll give it to Smith.
Okay. That's a damn good fight. Um, if I had to pick, I won't stick long on this one. If I had to pick, I would pick Benavidez to win the fight. Um, Strictly off mostly what you just said, but I really just have one twist to it. And I've said this before in several videos. David Benavidez is probably top five in the game in terms of closing the gap.
Hmm.
And David Benavidez, I could see him. He throws a jab in about 4 or 5 different ways, but every way he throws it, he's closing the gap as he does it. Um, I haven't seen a guy. Usually, I see smaller guys doing that, but for a big guy, he is great at closing the gap. So I feel like if David Benavidez closes the gap against Callum Smith, I think at that point he could win a very tight decision, really just outworking
Yeah, definitely,
Callum
definitely can
Smith because
outwork him. And I did figure out what you did say about the him closing the gap because that's very true. But the only difference is Callum Smith does jab with a jabber, and I feel like that just may because I've never really seen Benavidez fight someone who has similar dimensions to him in terms of fighting at long range. So he can use that jab
yeah,
to close in. Whereas I feel
that's
like Callum Smith is a bit more crafty than the other opponents that he's fought. But I could
yeah.
be wrong.
That's a good point. That's what makes the fight so intriguing. I would say if you pull my arm, I would say David Benavidez, but that's probably that's the epitome of a 50-50 fight as far as I'm concerned. But that was your number seven, technically your number eight. So my seven, technically number eight, is Josh Taylor, Jose Ramirez. Um, I think number one is a unification fight. Number two,
Undisputed.
undisputed. Unification undisputed, and it's really one of them type of fights where you can't ask for a better matchup in terms of style.
You
You
can't
can't
ask
ask
for a
for a
better
better
fight.
matchup. Um, if I had to choose, because I could go all day as far as technical stuff as far as these guys. If I had to choose, I would say Josh Taylor by a tight decision. But I think the only way Josh Taylor will be able to get there is unless he controls distance and is really, really busy from the outside. If he could do those two things, I think he could pull off a tight decision. Anything short of that, Jose Ramirez could definitely win that fight.
I mean, that's my number six, so I don't really need to say what my number six is. That's my number six. My number
Right.
six is Jose Ramirez versus Taylor. And me personally, I feel like one, it's an undisputed. Two, I feel like when you saw Taylor versus Prograis, that was arguably the fight of the year last year.
Correct.
And I feel like it was a style that you think if it was a triple threat, the only person you want to see in that fight is Jose Ramirez, you know. Or if
Mm.
there was three people to just throw in a fight and get them to dog it out, it would be those three. And I feel like it will literally basically be Taylor versus Progress part two. The only difference is, and this is why I lean towards Ramirez, is because Progress showed a lot of skills against Taylor, and to be fair, at sometimes Progress did outwork Taylor. If Taylor tries to dog it with Ramirez, Ramirez wins. I don't care. I don't care. The only way Taylor wins is if he keeps that fight long. If he tries to go in the trenches like how he did against Progress, he's gonna lose because
Yeah.
Ramirez has arguably got the best engine I've seen at 140 in years. I mean, I've never seen a guy just constantly. He has no regard or respect for what the other person's throwing, and at times I felt like because of how fast the pace was, Prograis got shell shocked, and I still thought Prograis won. There's nothing Taylor can do at close range that will surprise Ramirez. Nothing.
Yeah. Distance would be key in that fight. So that was your number 6, correct?
Yeah, that was my number six.
Okay, so I'll give you my number 6, and then we can keep it moving. Yeah, so the number 6 is Caleb Plant, David Benavidez. But we just talked about Benavidez. As far as Caleb Plant, Benavidez, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Caleb Plant, if he keeps it at a nice distance, he has a good shot. I think with any David Benavidez fight, it's a matter of whether he's going to get to his range. If he gets to his range, he's a hard person to beat.
Mm-hmm.
Caleb Plant's another guy that I don't think he's really been in the ring with anybody that's going to bring anything out of him. But David Benavidez has. He's been in with several guys that's giving him tough competition. I would favor Benavidez in that fight, strictly because with David Benavidez, I think once he lets his arsenal go, I don't know if Caleb Plant is going to throw with you. That's the one question I have with Caleb Plant, and I partially have that question because of the competition he's been in with. He hasn't
I,
had to throw with anybody because
I,
he's
I,
able to just get his shots off, and that's it. If I had to
I,
favor somebody, it would be David Benavidez, but it'd be slight.
I'll be confident picking Benavidez in that fight solely because the style that I've seen of Caleb Plant suit his dimensions doesn't suit it against Benavidez because I just feel like that movement style and that constant, you know, it's like that boxer puncher style that he has. I just feel like someone like Benavidez, their constant footwork pressure and the fact that he's eventually going to get close. And I feel like Plant fights long, but he fights long to come in the inside. You don't want to come on the inside against Benavidez. So I feel like a lot of the time he's going to do a lot of moving. And that fight's going to remind me of Volzik versus Beterbiev, of when Volzik was winning a lot of rounds, but eventually you knew Beterbiev was going to get him. And I just feel like it's going to be
Yeah.
the same thing.
Okay, so you would take Benavidez in that fight. What's your number 5, bro?
I'm not going to say my number 5 because we went over it. My number 5 was Andrade versus Canelo, so I'll say my number 4.
Okay, so we can stay right there. Let me give you my number 5, and then
Oh,
we
yeah,
can just go
sorry.
to number 4. My number 5 is Deontay Wilder versus Dillian White.
Okay, we might as well stop it there because that's my number 4. So we can go back and forth. That's my number 4.
That's your number 4? Okay. So, that's your number 4. So, let's see. All right, let's break that down. Let's break down Wilder and White. For me, Dillian White has the style to beat Deontay Wilder, and I know people
Mentality.
And the mentality. He has the mentality and he has the style. More so the mentality than the style to beat Deontay Wilder. And mind you, and this for the people listening, I'm not saying this because Deontay Wilder lost to Tyson Fury. Me and Shane been talking for years in terms of who can beat Deontay Wilder. And we always said behind the scenes, in order to beat the bully, you got to bully the bully. And Dillian White is one of those guys that has that mentality like, yo, like, I'm going to come to your table and I'm going to take your lunch. Like that's the type of
Literally.
mentality that he has. But we've been saying that for a long time. This fight is very intriguing for me, strictly because in order for Deontay Wilder to win that fight, he's gonna have to show something outside of a jab and a straight right hand, because Dillian White more than likely is gonna be in his chest. And we've
Exactly.
never seen anybody actually be in Deontay Wilder's chest for a good amount of time. But I could literally see Dillian White being in Deontay Wilder's chest for a while. I think Dillian White will have a lot of success in that fight. I could see Dillian White possibly winning um, during that fight. I do think Deontay Wilder eventually would get Dillian White up out of there with a right hand, but I think he'll have a whole lot of trouble before it happens.
I'm basically the same thing. I feel like White to me has 5 rounds. I give White 5 rounds. If White doesn't knock Wilder out in 5 rounds, he's not gonna win the fight. Mainly because of this one thing. Deontay Wilder does this thing where in the first few rounds he likes to figure out his opponent. Dylan White comes out like a bat out of hell in every single fight. He's willing to go in the trenches. You look in the first round against Chisora, he rocked him. Second round against AJ, he rocked him. In the second round against Parker, he dropped him. Dylan's coming for it from the beginning. So yeah, I think it was in the second round against Rivas, he rocked him as well. So he's coming for it. You just know he's coming for it. That rest back, sit back style that Wilder likes to do, leaving your arm out and not really throwing anything, just trying to figure it out, like how he done against Ortiz, that won't work against Dylan. He's gonna have to come and land, throw as much right hands as possible. The problem is why I give it to Wilder is because Wilder has this one thing. I mean, Dylan White does this one thing. He's so slow with his feet. So if he comes forward, straight forward, and because his feet is so slow, Wilder's just gonna ping him with that right hand. But
Mm-hmm.
if Dylan White can get on the inside, I can't see how Deontay Wilder wins because Dylan White on the inside will just, even though you say he's gonna have to get a new element to his game, Deontay Wilder's gonna have to fight a style that I've never seen him fight. And on the
Right.
inside, Dylan White's body shots, and if Dylan White lands that left hook against any heavyweight, it's over. So he's the only person that I've seen Wilder fight who has a weapon that can knock him out as well. So Wilder can't be going into that fight thinking, oh, this guy's pillow fisted. He's going to have to go in that fight thinking, this is the only person I've ever fought who's going in to kill just like me. Because I believe Wilder when he says he's trying to kill someone. But
No, I believe him too. I
I
believe him
also
too.
believe
Um,
White is a person who's got that same mentality.
right. Yeah, I would say probably I could see Wilder um beating Dillian White. I could see like around 8, round 9, something like that. But I think he'll eventually catch Dillian White with a shot, and is that's a great point as far as the footwork for Dillian White. That would cause him to fight. That would cause him to fight because even though we talk about Deontay Wilder not having great feet, we mean that in terms of coordination.
Not in
He
terms of
has
speed.
quick feet. He's just not coordinated very well.
Yeah.
But I think that would cause Dillian White to fight. But
We
that's
said this the other day. If Dylan White had coordinated and quick feet, he'd arguably be one of the best fight. He'd probably be right up there with the best heavyweight in the heavyweights in the division.
absolutely, and that's the difference between him not being him being on the outside of the top three, except for the inside of the top three, is because of that footwork. Um, but yeah, that's a great fight. I know that's your number 4. What's your number 5?
My number 5 was Andrade versus Canelo, so I didn't want to go.
Andrade versus Canelo. Okay, so
You
let's
done it
go
already.
down to. All right, we're gonna go down to number 4. We're gonna go down to my number 4. Shane's number 4 was Wilder and White, so we're gonna go right to 4. My number 4 is probably your number 3,
Yeah,
or your number 2. AJ versus Fury.
that's my number 2.
That's your number 2. Okay, so we can. I'm keeping track of it, bro. My number 4 is AJ versus Fury. Originally, this was not on my list at all. I decided to put it on my list and put it at number 4 because when you're talking about when you're talking about unification and undisputed, in the best division in boxing, it would be a disservice for me not to put this on the list. That's just point blank, period. It'd be a disservice. As far as the fight is concerned, I have the same concerns with Tyson Fury in every fight. Is defensively, you know he's going to be sound. You know his footwork is going to be really good for a big man. It's a matter of is he going to let his hands go? And that's the main thing. I It might be some people that disagree with me, but I actually like AJ in the fight.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I mean, styles make fights, and I've always thought if I had to pick it, I'd probably say AJ would probably lose to Wilder, but I've always picked AJ to beat Fury, and the main reason is because literally what you said. I just don't feel like Fury to beat AJ, you're gonna have to knock him out because really and truly, he's a person who's active. He throws a lot of punches. He can box and he can brawl and he's got power. So you're basically telling Fury to run up and walk towards AJ. Now the difference between what he done against Wilder is AJ can fight off the back foot, and AJ's got a fantastic inside game, and AJ's as physically strong as Fury. So not only could you can't bully him, is the fact that when you walk on the inside, be prepared to get punches on your way in. Wilder wasn't throwing anything on the way in, and when he was in the middle, he just holding on a lot. AJ would throw with you, and AJ throws short shots. Wilder doesn't throw short shots, so that's a whole entire different issue that Fury would have to face.
Yeah, I think you hear me, bro.
Yeah, there.
Yeah. I think AJ, like you said, like AJ's inside game is really the key. Um, because with Fury, if Fury is offensive, it's a really, really tight fight. It's a really, really tight fight. Um, but if AJ, I could see AJ landing that killer uppercut with with Tyson Fury, and I know people probably thinking, well, Tyson Fury moves his head on the inside. Actually, Tyson Fury moves his head shoulder to shoulder, but when you actually watch AJ throw his uppercut, he actually turns to the side and he gets angle on his uppercut. So you ain't gotta necessarily be straight on the line
And I also
for
think
AJ to
people,
hit you with that uppercut.
I also think people forget that when Fury's coming forward, not when he's going backwards, when Fury's coming forward, he's extremely square. That's how he got hit so many times against Chisora in the first fight. That's how Steve Cunningham knocked him down. That's how Nevin Package knocked him down. Because when he's coming forward, he's extremely square. So if it depends on what mentality Fury comes with, but if Fury's coming forward, I pick AJ in that fight.
Yeah, and you know the thing that's funny, and just to cap this one off, the main thing that we said Wilder would need to do to beat Tyson Fury is the same thing that AJ would need to do, but AJ's more capable of doing it. We said, for the people that's listening, we always said if Wilder was able to follow Fury out the back door while he's coming out of the pocket, that Wilder probably could get a knockout in the fight.
Hmm.
And Wilder just for some reason is just not coordinated enough to actually accomplish that.
It's because
But AJ is more than accomplished.
all of
You
his
know what I'm
punches
saying in
are
terms of skill
telegraphed.
set to do that. And I could literally see AJ following Tyson Fury out the back door and landing something huge against Tyson Fury, which would, in my eyes, would be the difference in the fight. But I like AJ as well.
So yeah, so bro, so that was your number four.
That was my number 4. I know that was your number 2. Let's go to your number 3.
My number three is your number two.
You may not know. You may be wrong about that.
Oh, you change it. My number three is Bivol versus Beterbiev.
Perfect. We on the same page. That's my number 3. Let's talk about it. You go first.
My number three, Bivol versus Beterbiev. People are going to be like, oh, why is um Wilder and White not ahead of Bivol versus Beterbiev? Simply because you don't get a 50-50 fight more than this. And I'm gonna. The reason why I say this is because I still can't pick who's gonna win. And I'm not going to give you an answer who's going to win neither because I've been watching both of these guys for years. Both of these guys are one of my favorite fighters. Both of these are my top 10 favorite fighters that I watch. I don't have favorite fighters in terms of personal emotional attachment. But in terms of fighters who I love to watch, I just think Bivol versus Beterbiev, we're talking about boxer versus brawler. We're talking about um back foot fighter versus front foot fighter. We're talking about arguably the best defensive fighter in light heavyweight division, point blank period, the most economical fighter in Bivol, and the most aggressive fighter, the hardest hitting fighter, pound for pound, one of the hardest hitting fighters pound for pound in the world, but definitely the hardest hitting fighter at like heavyweight. And I just feel like you don't need to sell it any more than that. It's the number one versus number two. And I feel like when you look at Voldzic versus Beterbiev, Voldzic has never been a defensive fighter, and I feel like what people were saying is, oh, Voldzic will outbox Beterbiev. And when they saw Beterbiev knock Voldzic out, they thought, oh, he's definitely going to knock out Bivol. What people need to understand is Bivol is a much more comfortable fighter fighting on the back foot. Bivol's a much more comfortable fighter defensively, and he's much more economical than Voldzic. Voldzic looked like a panic. You were at that fight, so you knew how the fight was, but he looked like he was scared. And he looked like he wasn't comfortable. And it goes back to what you always say. He was fighting a style that he didn't want to fight. Bivol was comfortable fighting on the back foot. So it's basically boxer versus brawler.
Who you like?
I don't know. I don't know.
You don't know? Okay. Man, this first of all, for the people that don't know, I was not a Artur Beterbiev fan at first. My boy Shane, he said, listen, he said, I'm gonna send you some tapes of some fights, put your lab coat on, and I need for you to watch this guy. He the truth. So I am a Beterbiev fan strictly because Shane put me on to him, so I gotta give credit where credit is due. That's number one. Number two, Beterbiev has been really, really good luck. That was my second media credential. So that was big for the channel. And thirdly, I met Beterbiev at the meet and greet while it was in Philly, so I was able to meet him personally. But that's not none of that gonna have anything to do with my decision in this fight. I just want to put that stuff out there. But in terms of Voldzic and Beterbiev, great point. In terms of Voldzic just not being comfortable. Teddy Atlas is Volzdic's trainer. Teddy Atlas did everything he could to try to make Voldzic feel as comfortable as possible, mid-range and on the inside. But the bottom line is Teddy Atlas ain't had to take them punches. like like Teddy Atlas ain't had to take those punches, so you can come up with every motivational speech in the world, but if you're not comfortable taking those shots and you can't take those shots for a long period of time, it's either your guy is going to get you eventually or you have to go for broke early. And Voldzic didn't go for broke early. He chose to win rounds early, and eventually Beterbiev caught up to him. So the question would be, can Bivol do anything different than Voldzic? Yes, he can. He can do quite a bit. Number one, Bivol has a damn good jab. He has a damn good jab. So some of the moments where Voldzic was allowing Beterbiev to get inside and get his shots off, he'll have a harder time doing that against Bivol.
Why?
That's
Because of
number
your
one.
saying. Why? Because of that saying that you love to say. Voldzic didn't make him pay. What did Voldzic not make him pay?
Right. When he didn't make him pay that admission fee when he walked up in that front door. And that's the thing with Beterbiev. If you don't give him something to think about, then he's going to completely disregard that you have a front door. He's just walking right on in. And that's going to be the whole key to the fight. Can Bivol put something on Beterbiev to make him think? If Bivol can put something on Beterbiev early in the fight, I'm talking within the first 3 rounds. If Bivol can put something on Beterbiev to make him think, I think Bivol can pull off a decision.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not the case, I think Beterbiev
Knock
could.
him out.
I think he could knock out. I think he could knock out Bivol. If you was pulling my arm, I would say Beterbiev gets him late, very late. I just think Beterbiev, even if he's frustrated early in a fight, he has enough boxing skill and enough boxing craft to figure Bivol out
The
by
craft is,
the
I
later
feel
part of the
boxing
fight.
craft is underrated.
Absolutely, absolutely. But Turbiev is not your average power guy. Usually with power guys, they don't have a lot of boxing craft, but actually Beterbiev has a lot of boxing craft.
It
So
comes from the amateur, isn't it? Look at his amateur pedigree. His amateur pedigree is ridiculous.
correct. Correct, absolutely. So I know Shane, he don't know yet, but I would say Beterbiev late. Because I could possibly see round 10, possibly even round 11, he would get a stoppage. But I think Bivol probably will be up on the cards just like Volzdik was before Beterbiev came and got the stoppage. So I'm almost sure we had the same number two and number one. What's your number two?
That my number two was Tyson Fury versus AJ.
Oh, that's your number two. Tyson Fury
You
versus
done that
AJ. We
already.
already talked about that. That Shane's number two. My number two is Lomachenko and Tank Davis.
Oh wow, yeah, talk about that one. That's
Yeah,
not
let's
even on my
talk
list.
about it. Far as Tank Davis is concerned, Tank Davis is top five in terms of just being physically gifted. The problem for Tank is Lomachenko's top five in terms of physically gifted as well.
And technically gifted.
And technically
He might be
gifted. So when
number
you
one.
right. So now you get the physical gifts out the way. Now you're talking about technical gifts. And I don't think anybody is technically as sound as Lomachenko. And some people will be like, oh, well, he took some shots in a couple of fights, this, that, and the third. Listen, this is boxing. Anything short of what Lomachenko has done, like you would look at him like a Tevin Farmer or somebody else that you would feel is too defensive and is not marketable. When you're that good, you are a lot of times you're in a no-win situation. If you show all of your defensive prowess and you're making a guy miss all night, they're gonna say the fight was boring. But if you put yourself in a pocket and actually fight, then they'll criticize you for getting hit a couple times. So that's what happens with Lomachenko in a lot of his fights. Tank is so gifted power wise that I think the key to this fight is the activity of Tank, lack
What
thereof.
you say when you say
Um,
that, yeah? When you
in
say that,
order,
I
yeah,
feel
in order to get to the Lomachenko, I feel like you have to let your hands go, but you have to be intelligent about it. And I think Tank is intelligent inside of the ring. I just don't think he will throw a whole lot of shots and be intelligent inside of the ring. I think a lot of what Lomachenko can do, I think Tank would keep his hands in his pocket. I already think he's economical with the punches. I think he would really be economical with the punches as far as Lomachenko working angles, punch variety. He can go orthodox or southpaw if he wants. His amateur background, there's not a style he hasn't seen, so I don't think Tank can bring anything that would leave Lomachenko like scratching his head, thinking like, "What do I have to figure out?" I honestly think Lomachenko, it's his fight to win. Even though this is number two on my list, I would actually say this is a 60-40 fight for Lomachenko. I just don't think Tank is going to throw enough. He loads up on every shot. That's the worst type of style you can go in with against a guy like Lomachenko. Because if you load up on a lot of your shots and you miss, either A, you're going to get tired from missing so much, or B, he's going to make you pay the price for missing so much. I like Lomachenko in that fight, but I think it's a highly entertaining fight. I could see Tank landing a couple of big shots, but I just don't think it'll be enough to beat Lomachenko.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I mean I hear that. I mean I don't see it as close as you do. I probably see it as like maybe 65-35 Loma. I just feel like you spoke about Tank's athletic advantages, but I feel like that's where it ends. I don't feel like he's a smart fighter, and I don't feel like he's that technically gifted. And I feel like when he's fighting someone like Lomachenko, he will come in with a certain style. Lomachenko will make adjustments. What happens to Tank after? Tank's coming forward all day. That's all he's gonna do. Come forward, select certain punches and punch. Maybe get one power punch lead with a big right hand or lead with a straight right hand or lead with an uppercut, but he's not got enough variety to me, and I feel like he's too one-dimensional to beat someone as good as Loma.
Okay. So you got Lomachenko. So we both got Lomachenko in that fight. That covers basically both of our number twos, and I'm almost sure we have the same number
I
one. I'll let
mean,
you.
it's when we say fantasy matches, this is definitely fantasy because I remember you've always said that this fight ain't ever gonna happen, and I'm starting to believe you when I say when you said that. Spence versus Crawford. There's no fight at welterweight that makes more sense. There's no fight. There's no fight on the planet that I want to see more than that. If I had to pick between not watching boxing for 1 year and watching that fight, I'd not watch boxing for a year and watch that fight because it's just the best fight in boxing.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, what's your thoughts on it? You go ahead.
I mean, my thoughts on it is pretty much. I might as well just give you who I feel is going to win. I feel like Crawford's going to win solely because I feel like when you look at Crawford and Crawford's style, I feel like he's got way too much dimensions for Spence. I feel like I've seen enough weaknesses in Spence where I feel like, one, he doesn't deal with pivots properly. I see a few times when he had Porter hurt and Porter pivoted, not hurt, but he had Porter against the ropes or Porter backed up and Porter just pivoted away from him. It was very easy for Porter to do that. And I feel like you look at Spence's footwork, it's just very ordinary. And then you look at Crawford's footwork and then it's on another level. And I just feel like Crawford's not going to stand there and let Spence tee off on him. Spence is relying on someone to basically either engage with him or stay there. We've never really seen anybody make Spence. In fact, we saw Kell Brook make Spence miss in the early rounds, and he lost a lot of the early rounds against Kell Brook. And I feel like his footwork is not sophisticated enough to just keep up to what Crawford will do. I feel if Crawford goes on the back foot and just keeps moving, Spence is gonna have to chase him. And if he does eventually get back him up against the ropes, I feel like he doesn't keep people trapped there long enough, and he's not a great fighter at punching on the move neither. I just feel like in every shape or form, I feel like technically, mentally, he's better than Spence. And other than strength and power, that's the only physical advantages he has. He doesn't have better timing, doesn't have better hand speed, he doesn't have better foot speed, he doesn't have better head movement, doesn't have better angles. I don't really feel, as much as it is a 50-50 fight, I just feel like Crawford's just on another level to him.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I can't even add too much more to that. Terrence Crawford, I think the biggest question will be, does he go orthodox or does he go southpaw against the southpaw? That would probably be the most intriguing question out of that matchup. Spence is the bigger guy. He's the stronger guy. I feel like Spence intimidates a lot of guys before he even gets into the ring. And the one time he ran into somebody that wasn't intimidated, he was in a hell of a dogfight against Sean Porter. And there's some people that thought Sean Porter won that fight. I thought Sean Porter won that fight even with the knockdown. Anybody that says that Spence won that fight, 9 out of 10 of them had it 6-6.
I had it 6-6.
Right. Yeah, and a lot of people had it 6-6. With the knockdown, he wins by a point. But I felt like Spence was getting outdogged in a lot of that fight. I had Sean Porter winning like either the first 5 rounds or the first 6 rounds straight. And with Spence, I just look at it like Spence needs somebody to stand there and just let him tee off. And Crawford's just not going to allow that. He's going to have to fight Crawford on the inside at times. He's going to have to find Crawford at times. He's going to have to fight Crawford in an orthodox stance. He's going to have to fight Crawford in a southpaw stance. There's too many too many tools in the toolbox. It's similar to me. This is similar to Tank and Lomachenko. It is a fascinating fight. It's obviously one of the top 2-3 fights that we want to see, but in terms of actual like result and competition, there's other fights on our top 10 list that are more compelling in terms of style than this fight. Um, I think Crawford wins. Um, I can see Crawford. The main thing would be, can Crawford hurt Spence? That would be the one thing I would be looking for. If Crawford can't hurt Spence and Spence knows that he can't hurt him and he goes in fighting like that, then Crawford's going to have some problems. But I do think Crawford got enough mustard on them shots to make Spence feel it. Too many tools in the toolbox. I think this is another 60-40 fight as far as I'm concerned. And I didn't even get into the fact that Spence doesn't really take care of himself outside of the ring. I ain't getting all of that. And I'm not I'm gonna mention it, but I'm not gonna get into all of that. I like Crawford in that fight. 60-40. I could see Crawford winning 8-4.
I was just about to say, I can see him winning 8-4. I mean, I can see him having like tough periods, especially in the late rounds. But I feel like Spence will lose the first 7 rounds. You know, you look at him, how he fights most of his fights, he starts so slow. And to me, that's the biggest advantage for Crawford, because by the time you're ready to kick up the pace, Crawford's already adjusted. So you're kicking up the pace to what you saw. He's now a whole different dimension, fighting a whole different style. He gives away too much rounds. Spence gives up way too much rounds. And he's going to have to knock him out. And I feel like Spence at some point is going to realize, I have to knock this guy out to beat him. And when you're in a fight where you know you have to knock someone out and you're not used to knocking everybody you fight out, I feel like you're in trouble. I mean, he didn't even knock Mikey out, and Mikey was coming up from 135. And if he's going in the ring thinking, I have to knock Crawford out,
he's going to look, there's a difference between him losing to Crawford and him losing bad to Crawford. And if he think he's going to have to get a knockout to win from round 1, he's going to be fighting different. He's going to be leaving himself open for a lot of different shots. And this is no disrespect to Spence. Like, this is just how good we think Crawford is. You know, because, I mean, Spence is he's in my top 5 pound for pound, I think.
He ain't in mine, but he's in my top 10. He's not in my top 5.
He's not your top 5? Okay.
You can't give it up, because we might as well do another video, maybe next week or something.
Yeah, and what I was thinking, I'm trying to think, is he in my top 5 pound for pound? I know he's in my top 5 welterweights, but I gotta think about that one. Maybe that's another video we can do. Top 10 pound for pound. That'll be a good video.
Yeah.
But, so basically this was our top 10 fights that we want to see right now, current fighters. We hope you enjoyed the listen. In the comment section, we want for you guys to actually put your top 10 list down. We don't give a damn how much space you take up. We don't care about none of that. Put your top 10 fights down from 1 to 10. Put them down in order. Also, you can reach out to us on Instagram. I am on Instagram at BoxingFirst That's BoxWit G5Jefftv. Shane, drop your Instagram.
I_am Shane1. The number 1.
The number 1. And you can leave us your top 10 matchups that you want to see in the comment section of this video or on Instagram. What we'll do is, if we get enough responses and enough intriguing responses, or some wacky and some crazy ones, we will definitely do a follow-up video for this topic, and we will actually talk about the list of some of the people that have put theirs in the comment section or gave it to us on Instagram. So for that, G5Jefftv, Shane, we are signing off. Peace.